We are back. Hello. Um, Lesson 2 for April 28th. I remembered to change the number. That's hard for me to remember for some reason. I have emailed you an article, a news article, entitled, Why Music Makes Us Feel Different Emotions. It's a really long title, isn't it? Oftentimes, news articles will have a longer title than the title that we might give to, a standard essay. It's really up to the writer of the article. Why music makes us feel different emotions. So if you have not read this article, I'd like you to simply pause the video and print that or pull that up on your computer and read it. It's not too long, and I chose a reading level that is kind of a high intermediate level. This article is available in even higher levels. If you would like the challenge of reading it at a higher level, I'll be glad to send that to you. And you can challenge yourself a little bit that way if you'd like. All right. So, assuming everyone has now read it, I would like to highlight just a couple of vocabulary words real quickly. You may have already done this as you read. You may have needed to look these up. These are the ones that I think might be newer to you. This one, temporarily, is actually defined in the article in a brief way. Temporarily means it refers to time, and it's in that very moment, okay? So if something happens temporarily, it happens in a certain moment, and it might continue to happen in each moment. In this case, music. We recognize and hear music temporarily. The minute it comes on, our brain begins to process it. And it continues to be a temporal thing as long as that tune or that melody continues. Our brain continues moment by moment to process that music. Now, I will say that there are times that we might not process music. And these would be the times when we are so very distracted with something else that we are doing, or the music is so much in the background that we are not really aware of it at all because we're busy doing something else. So I can say that sometimes if I'm in a store, I will be very much aware of the music. I will be processing it temporarily. But perhaps it's the grocery store and I'm in there with my husband or my sister, and we're talking about other things and looking at items, and we're not at all thinking about the music. Now our brain is aware that it's there, but we're not really processing it because we're so distracted, about other things. So temporally is a good word to know. Another word that I think we've talked about in class before, instinctive. Instinctive is that sort of built-in understanding that we humans have. Instinct is that built-in understanding that we humans have. And so do all the other animals in the world. It's that way that birds know how to build a nest without reading an instruction book. Okay, that's instinct. Instinct is that part of us that tells us that something is okay, that something is safe to do or not safe to do, or that something feels good or doesn't feel good. That's instinct, and we're born with that. Certainly our instinct heightens as we grow and live. A baby's instinct is not the same as the instinct they will have when they are one. By age one, they may have learned that the stove is, hot, and they instinctively don't go close to the stove anymore because they did it one time and they burned themselves. So our instincts are also developed within us as we have experiences. Another word in the article, evolved. The word evolve means to change, and we know that there are many ways that we could define or give examples for things that have evolved. We are all evolving every day in many ways in our learning and in our living. Certainly you've heard the word evolution. Evolution comes from evolve. Evolution of, the earth, the evolution of, evolution can be applied to something like a business. The evolution of my business has been very positive through the years, okay? My business has grown in a positive way. So evolve. And I think those were the three. Oh, one more. There's the fourth one, empathy. Empathy means to understand another person's feelings. It is different from empathy versus sympathy. Sympathy means that we feel sorry for someone, okay? That we feel sad for them because of something that has happened in their life. And we send a sympathy card maybe, or sympathy flowers, because we feel sad for them. Empathy means that we truly understand what another person is feeling. And it's really harder to have empathy unless we've had certain experiences that match up with that person. So I can truly empathize with someone perhaps who has, in my case, I lost a husband. I can empathize with someone who has lost a husband because I've had that same experience. We may have had very different types of loss, but I kind of know, what that feels like to be without a husband. So empathy versus sympathy, different things. Empathy is that real understanding that we have of how somebody else feels. And of course, in this article, we're talking about music. So, how melodies and the words in a song, sometimes we can really empathize with that music because it's talking about and giving us a sense of a feeling that, oh gosh, I've experienced the same thing. I know what that's like. Okay, let me sort of clear this off. And so we're looking at this article in two ways. We're going to look at the article first from the standpoint of just what it has to say to us, what its meaning is, okay? And then we're going to look at the article as writers. We're going to look at the structure of the article. We're going to talk about the way it is set up and how the writer might have intentionally decided to do what he or she did in the way they structured this article, okay? So let's just look at the article from the standpoint of meaning. And I would like for you to read aloud with me, okay? I'd like for you to focus on expression as we go In other words, reading it and interpreting its meaning as we go, and and letting that show through your expression. Let's give it a try. Why music makes us feel different emotions. Imagine a scene in a movie. A young girl is on her own in a dark mansion. She climbs a creaking staircase. Shadows flicker like ghosts on the wall behind her. If you were the movie director, what music would you choose for this scene? Now picture a different scene. A lost puppy is reunited with its owner, a little boy. The boy is so happy, he starts to cry. Would you choose the same music for both scenes? Probably not, because different types of music trigger different types of emotion. What works best for the lost puppy scene would seem silly in a scary movie. Emotions affect the mind and body. Emotions are the feelings that we have in response to the world. They are more than just something we feel, though. They have an effect on the body, too. Studies have shown that listening to music changes our pulse, our breathing, and even our temperature. For example, dance music beats speed up your heart rate. No wonder people listen to fast music to exercise and slow songs to relax. But even more important than what's happening to the body is what's happening in the brain. We experience music temporally. In other words, music comes alive second by second as you listen to it. Press play on your iPhone and a song develops in time. Most songs have some kind of build-up to them. They build up to a certain point before they fade away and end. And this is happening, as this is happening, your brain is tracking the music. It is listening in the moment. But your brain is also predicting what's going to come next. A built-in understanding of music. These predictions are based on our natural ability to learn the rules of our culture's music. From a baby's earliest days, it hears and begins to understand the songs that surround him or her. Over time, babies learn which notes sound best together. They learn how melodies rise and fall, and how rhythms work. This is all instinctive. Songwriters use this built-in understanding to make you feel emotions when you hear their music. Dr. Alexandria Lamont is an expert in music psychology. That is the study of how people respond to music. Lamont says that it is people's expectations about music that create an emotional response. It has to do with where we think the music is going next, and if it goes where we expect it or not. Like when a beat finally gets dropped in after a lot of build-ups, Lamont says. A low note means doom is coming. Music can also express certain emotions directly. Experiments have shown that listeners can easily identify the emotional nature of a piece of music. They know if it is meant to make you happy, sad, or even filled with fear. Listeners can tell this from just a few seconds of music. Think of the first few notes of the theme music from Jaws. A single high note can send the feeling of excitement. A low note can send the feeling that doom is coming. Slow music sends the idea of thoughtful emotions. Fast beats signal fun and excitement. The loudness matters, as does how sudden and unexpected a sound is. Body movements can express emotion too. The musical performance is important too. When the best rock stars perform, we can feel their pain, sadness, and joy. Parts of our brain have evolved to echo the emotions we see in others. We feel empathy. This means we share others' feelings. Many psychologists believe this same part of the brain is active when we watch musicians perform. One experiment showed that even with the sound turned down, people could accurately judge the emotion a performer wanted to express just by watching his or her body movements. One person's happy song is another person's sad song. We don't all like the same music, though. What's sad for one person might be uplifting for another. The reason is partly to do with the musical language we grow up with. Say your parents love listening to rhythm and blues at home. You may be more likely to listen to it too. You may even grow to prefer it to other musical genres. Some researchers have proposed that our musical preferences are being shaped before we are even born. Babies can hear music while they are still in the womb. As we get older, our taste is more determined by the people we hang out with. Our musical identity tends to get cemented in early adulthood. After that, it is less likely that musical taste will drastically change. Being human means that we all have a soundtrack to our lives, just like in a movie. The songs you choose to be part of your life are part of what makes you unique. All right, I think a very wonderfully written article, very enjoyable and meaningful. We're going to talk a little bit about then, a little bit about the content of the article. I've got to pause and restart. Excuse me just a moment.